going to call the meeting to order for the Clemson City Police Advisory Board, meeting for November 14th. We'll start with our roll call. Myself, Lisa Robinson, present. Jackie Myers is absent. Kevin Dull? Present. Sandy Edge?
Here.
Stephen Plant?
Present.
Pablo Unda?
Present.
Elaine Masseri?
Present.
Winton Hunter?
Present.
And Sanaya Burns is absent. Thank you. We will now proceed with the approval of the agenda. You have it in front of you. It's also posted online. If you want to take a few minutes to look over it. Are there any changes or additions?
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned.
Second.
Second. All those in favor of approval of the agenda? Okay. We will now move on to the approval of the previous minutes, and these are the minutes from October 24th, and you also have those in front of you, and they're also posted online. So if you haven't already read them, you can take a few minutes to kind of look through these. Are there any additions or changes? Under the attendance, my name isn't noted, but it's in the minutes. So that's. Anyone have any edits, additions, changes? If there are none, can we get a motion to approve the minutes with that correction?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, no opposed, abstentions. Okay, we can now move on to citizens' comments. So this is for topics that aren't already on the agenda. They're limited to 3 minutes per speaker. We have a full gallery today, which almost never happens, so thanks to the Clemson business law class for being here. So if anyone has any comments, you can speak for 3 minutes. Otherwise, if there are no citizen comments, we'll go ahead and we can proceed
Or
with
no
our
questions.
presentations.
I mean, this would be a good time if someone wants to ask a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know how much students love to be put on the spot.
Right.
So,
Well, we're glad to have you here. Okay.
so
hearing
we
none.
will be happy to answer questions afterwards if you
Absolutely.
have questions when we're done. So,
Absolutely. Okay, so if there are no citizen comments at this time, we'll go on to our presentation.
okay, so as you all know, we had for our gallery, our board is made up of 9 members. One of the members is a Clemson University student, and it's usually filled by somebody from the student government. Currently, you have Stephen Plant, who's with the cabinet, is that correct? And then formerly, we had Riley Wright. So Riley, come on up. Riley was our Clemson University student for a year. And so we are presenting to you with a certificate of appreciation for 2 years. I'm sorry, that's right, he did it 2 years. For the 2 years, see, I didn't read your certificate, it says 2 years there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and, all right, who had to take pictures? Maybe there's some more pictures, they need pictures for them.
Yeah.
Good.
There's one more.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, Riley, thank you for your
Thank you,
dedicated
Riley, for your
service.
service. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Yeah.
And you can sit if you'd like. The second one is Ashby, but when she gets here, we'll give it to Ashby. Was our high school student that is on the board. Our current high school student couldn't make it today, but we do have another high school student on the board.
Yeah, so when Ashby comes, we can take care of
So
it.
also, I'll take the time, well, no, go ahead.
You want to?
No, when I do my department status, I'll address it.
Okay. Okay, so we'll now move on to department status and staffing review. Chief?
Okay. So for department status and events, and I'll go right into, we were talking to the students. On Monday, I spoke with the Student Senate, gave a presentation, presented the department, explained the board and Stephen's position on the board, soliciting student involvement, student input on things that occur in the city. Because as we know, the majority of the students live either in the city or in the county and not on campus. So there are concerns where they live. And as part of those concerns, I introduced to them the crime map, which you all see up on the screens. This map is available publicly. You can go to the Clemson Police Department's website at clemsonpd.org, which looks like this. And on the top, you'll see a list of links. The crime info link you would click on, it will open this screen here. And what you will first see, you will not see all of these icons at first because the default filter only filters certain incidences, but I'm showing all incidences for last month. You can also select last month, and it will plot on the map icons for all of the reports that we've taken. It will not show rapes or sexual assaults, and the reason for that is the victim's identity is like confidential, so we can't put anything that might potentially identify who the victim is. So you won't see that plotted on a map. Also, for that same reason, when you click on one of these icons, it'll open up a little brief information page on the side to see what it is. And I want to highlight the address also is somewhat, it's got X's in it, so you can't identify the victim exact location. Now, sometimes you could do a little bit of, backdoor investigating and sort of kind of figure it out, especially if you live in that neighborhood and you saw the cop car parked out front, you'll figure it out. But for the general public, we don't want people figuring that out, so that's why it is the way it is. So if you're ever interested, you can do that. One interesting thing is up here, this little bell here, you can register your address, and whenever an incident, and you can select how far away from your address you want to be notified, and whenever any incident pops up within that geographic location, you can get an email to say, hey, this popped up in your area, so you kind of know what's going on where you live, or where you work, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a good way to kind of be informed what's going on around you crime-wise. So I showed that to them, and they had a lot of good questions. One of the topics of discussion, which is part of what I wanted to discuss today, was the reports of the alleged drink spiking that's going on. Right now, all of the reports that we have and all the investigations we have not identified a substance that anyone is allegedly getting spiked with to explain what's going on. Several of them had a very high alcohol content, so we're thinking it's the alcohol content that's caused these things. It also may be synergistic with whatever other prescription medication or whatever that they're taking. There's, for some reason, people think because a drug is prescribed to them, that they're not subjected to side effects when introducing that drug with alcohol or other substances. And as we all know, if you read the fine print of every medication, it tells you don't take it with alcohol, don't take it with this substance, don't take it with that substance. And so unfortunately, some of that is occurring. I've spoken with the emergency room doctors, and they are all on board with trying to detect any kind of foreign substance in someone when they come in to the emergency room. So they're, according to the emergency room chief, they are super sleuths when it comes to trying to figure stuff like this out. So they're trying to find out just as much as we are, and that's why we encourage everybody, if they feel these effects, go seek medical attention quickly so that they can have the testing done, et cetera. There was a nasty rumor earlier this week going around online that someone died as a result of drink spiking. That is a rumor. Nobody has died. Nobody has notified us that they've died. If somebody's aware of a body somewhere, please let us know. It shouldn't be there. But that's taking it kind of lightly. But no one has died as a result of drink spiking. All of the symptoms and effects are things that could be experienced by drinking too much alcohol. Another thing that's also of note is a lot of these supplemental drinks, energy drinks that have all these other compounds in them. You know, there's really no testing out there to know how much of that is too much when you mix it with too much alcohol or with alcohol and what it would do to you. So that could explain some of the euphoric effects that some people are experiencing, et cetera. So we are still taking all of those reports very seriously whenever they're reported to us. An interesting side note is now we're starting to get inquiries by attorneys, because now we have attorneys wanting to use that as a defense as to why someone acted the way they acted while they were under the influence. So it's kind of taken on a nature of its own. We had a lot of, and when I go over the crime review, I'll just put it out there, we had 11 motor vehicle thefts last month. Most of those were mopeds. We have made 2 arrests on that, but we don't believe they're solely the ones stealing them. There's a handful of them, and they're not all linked to one another. They're just random. We did put some out on social media. We did get some people calling in and identified who it was, and that was one of the arrests that we made. And lastly, we had the Department of Behavioral Health come do a presentation last time, talked about the Narcan. We have also been working with Clemson University's Healthy Campus, and they have the One Box program going on, and they have agreed to work with the businesses downtown and getting Narcan doses in those businesses, and there are several who have agreed and have gotten the training, so that both bars and restaurants now are starting to have these kits in their establishment. And some people were a little concerned that, you know, I don't want to be associated with that because I don't want to think that, you know, there's a bunch of druggies in my establishment, but that's not necessarily the case. As we've learned in numerous places, the cross-contamination that occurs is so rampant, and you never know when you're coming across it. So as we learned in the presentation, Narcan can't hurt you. So what would it be, what detriment would it be to have one in there and Narcan somebody and they not need it? But if you Narcan them and they did need it, then you save a life. So that's kind of the position a lot of the business owners are taking at this, and they just want to make sure that their patrons are safe, and if they need saving, they have the means to save them. So going into our staffing review, we have 4 officer vacancies. I just received a resignation from one officer today. They'll be leaving us next week, so that'll bring us to 4. However, we do have 4 candidates in the process to be hired. They're all non-certified, so we're going to have to train them. We're going to have to send them to the academy and put them through training when they get back. We still have 1 dispatch position open that we're looking for a good candidate for. We held interviews last week, and none of the interviewees showed up. Yeah, so that is, we unfortunately experiencing that. We're not, and talking with other chiefs, we're not the only ones experiencing that. I don't know what it is with the job market today, but you got people that will go that far, set up an interview, and then just not show. You know, or we'll get somebody that'll come in and interview, and then once they find out what the job is about, it'll be, well, I can only work Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. It's like, well, this is not a Monday through Friday 9 to 4 job, so we might want to find another job somewhere else. So yeah, so we're still continuing to try to recruit for that. We definitely need to try and recruit where we can. I don't know how we're gonna. We're gonna have to look at other things and figure out where we need to advertise to get some of the recruits to come in. And so that's it for the department status. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions on the status report? Okay. If there are none, we can move on to the crime review.
All right, for crime review, for the last month, we had 1 rape reported, 1 aggravated assault, 14 simple assaults, 1 breaking and entering, 3 break-ins to vehicles, 11 motor vehicle thefts, as I mentioned before, mostly are mopeds. We made 14 narcotic arrests, 9 disorderly conduct arrests, 21 public drunk arrests, 12 liquor law violations or MIP violations, 3 DUI arrests. We had 6,385 calls for service. We did 893 traffic stops. We issued 402 citations. And we made, how many? I said 21 MIP. There's 26 MIP arrests. 40 noise complaints, 8 noise violations issued. And let's see, 61 vehicle collision reports, 7 of which had injuries. And that is the activity for the month of last month, October. Excuse me.
The narcotics arrests, were those in a particular area, or are those kind of all over?
They're random, usually resulting from a traffic stop, but they're random.
Okay, are there any questions on the crime report? Okay, next we have requested presentations. So I know Jackie was going to look into having someone come speak to us about service dogs. We still have the city attorney, I think we're trying to get scheduled. And
Yeah.
I believe there was one other that we talked about.
Safety director at Clemson.
Right, oh yes, the
What?
new safety, public safety director at Clemson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like those would be some we'll try to address in the new year.
Correct.
Were there any others that anyone had in mind? No? Okay. All right, so we now move on to board members' open discussion. Any items, anything from the community that anyone has that they need to bring forward?
I had a question. Did the city receive any complaints about those texts that were sent to individuals after election day? I know that the university.
Right, we did not. The university reached out to us once they made aware of, for the rest of the board, these are the text messages people were receiving that were inviting people to pick cotton and made references to slavery and other things. No one within the city reported it to us. We did receive a bunch of phone calls from people that saw our social media posts, but they lived in other jurisdictions, and we referred them to their law enforcement agencies. The university was investigating it with some other agencies, trying to find out the source. I do know that the person who sent it out used what they call an anonymizer site to send them out, so there's no way to trace back where the origin of the message was sent. And I know they're still looking into it. It was very concerning because it appeared that only people of a certain demographic were receiving those text messages, and it wasn't just a random send. So somebody had a list from somewhere for people within a certain demographic, and we're targeting them, for lack of a better description. So I don't have any more information than that.
So is that an instance where the department here would work with SLED and the FBI? I think it's been referred to the FBI.
Correct. Well, when I first learned of it, I reached out, being a member of the task force that I am with the FBI. I reached out to the FBI and said, are you guys aware that these text messages are going out? At the time that I reached out to them, they did not. The very next day, I got a phone call, said, oh, the Department of Justice has directed us to, because there were so many others that were received in so many other states and jurisdictions. So the Department of Justice took it on, and the other reason why I reached out to the FBI is because I know they do have the Civil Rights Division, and they investigate instances like this, and it's not necessarily criminal investigations they do, they also do civil investigations. So that was another reason why I reached out to them, because I'm sure they would adopt something like that, especially at that scale.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just wondering if the city had received any.
None have been reported to us, but that was the whole purpose for the post, was to encourage people to report it. Because we also have our hate and intimidation ordinance in the city that it would fall under, so we would definitely take a report and get as much information as possible.
Thank you.
Chief, is there been any crime uptick because due to the hurricane that came through?
Crime uptick because of the hurricane?
Damage, theft, or any
Not
of
that,
that?
not that was noticeable.
Fraud,
Yeah, yeah.
scams.
Not that was noticeable here, thankfully. Yes, ma'am.
I think I brought this up at conversations with council, but I'm not sure if it's a city thing or the police do this. The speed limits, you know, the digital ones, like the one on Issaquena.
Right.
Is there any way to, because I watched this, well, people coming down that way have kind of slowed down. So is there any way to turn it around so that the people now that are flying down from the bridge, I didn't know if it could be turned around. That's just what I'm.
So that was something that we discussed prior to the hurricane. And the department that's responsible for erecting those is Public Works. And Public Works has been inundated picking up everything.
Yeah.
So the council purchased, I think it's 5 or 7 more of those signs. And our administrator has directed our Public Works folks to put one on the other side of the road, pointing in the other direction, to keep the one that's there up, but put one on the other side. So it is on their list of things to do. I know that because I keep reminding my Public Works director that they need to put it up. But he's still in the throes of picking up tree debris and everything else. So when they get a chance to go over there and do that, they will. There's a few other signs for other regulatory reasons that have been brought down because of the hurricane that we have to put back up, and that's all on their list of things to do. I will tell you though, I sat out there 3 times in the last 2 weeks because I had a radar installed in my car, and I only pulled 1 car over in like an hour period of being out there. And I went to another part of town and I pulled 6 cars over. They were going a little faster.
It's usually in the morning. They're
Usually rush hour
mornings
in the morning and in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yeah, that's what I noticed.
I was the one afternoon I was out there till almost 5 o'clock, and I really wasn't seeing them going fast enough for me to pull them over. They were going over the speed limit, but they were like within 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. So that's also a difficult time for our guys to do enforcement because of all the other calls that are coming in around the same time. So we'll try to get them out there some more.
I just thought it might slow the people coming down from the bridge. That's what I see.
I think it definitely has an effect.
Yeah, I see the other direction that pointed in, they have slowed down.
Well,
and it's not
until you
really-
get closer to Patrick Square, then they speed back up, but.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any other open discussion items from board members? No? All right, if hearing none, that's the end of our agenda items. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Well, before we adjourn,
What's the date of our next meeting?
it will be the 4th Thursday in January.
So we're not changing it, okay.
Yeah, nothing in December. And because we're not gonna adjourn back until January.
January.
Right.
January.
Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yes. Absolutely.
There's got to be one question out there.
Anyone?
We're gonna tell your professor if you don't ask a question.
Chief, did you
Yes.
want to mention the golf cart?
So,
The golf cart stuff for January?
just we'll bring it back up for discussions starting in January, the golf cart ordinance.
Ordinance. Okay.
Yeah.
January 23rd. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we can get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn, please.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?